Good evening, everyone. My name is Terry Robinson. I write under the pen name Chanton. I write for a blog called Walking Those Shoes, and I also have a Facebook, Terry Doug Robinson. You can check out more of my work and my writings there. Today I want to share with you a recent topic that all of America is invested in now. And it's the brutal slaying of Tyre Nichols, a Memphis man, by the Memphis Police Department. And so for me, this subject it's a hot subject, but it's certainly personal. And I would hope that this piece I'm about to read will explain why. Psychological evaluation, police brutality. What do these two phrases mean? They're not synonymous with one another, but they are definitely connected. It should be discussed in the same breath. Psychological evaluations should be the focal point on who we employ as lawmen. And when we don't, police brutality is what happens. Sure, we can go into all the talk about all the officers who don't use excessive force or brutalize civilians, but this still is about those that do. The ones who are psychologically deficient, there should be nowhere near a gun in a badge. The ones who would abuse their privilege to protect and serve, to instead victimize. That's the case with Tyre Nichols, a black man who's died at the hands of Memphis police officers. Tyre was tased, kicked, maced, and pummeled to death by a black lynch mob. That's the only way to describe the senseless cruelty by these officers. He was executed before millions on camera. But there are other factors of accountability for what happened before that night. Tyre was killed by a failed police system, one that continues to allow psychological deficiency to slip through the cracks and claim the lives in process. There has to be more of a strenuous process and aptitude when it comes to declaring people fit to be officers. If not, we are in effect sending out a loaded weapon with the hammer cocked back to police our civilians. We're weaponizing brutes, providing badges to bullies, and then we left with our mouths again at the horrendous mishandling of civilians during police encounters. We evade the disastrous eyes of mothers like Tyre Nichols because we have no answers for her son's death, but our failure of prevention. What was those officers' mindset at the time they punched Tyre while his hands were cuffed behind his back? Were they striking the 29-year-old photographer and father, or venting their frustration on some past abuse? Were they protecting and serving the life of someone, or killing an issue within them represented by Tyre? Have these guys been tested, tried, and true in de-escalation procedure? Or were they simply a mob who mistook their privilege for permission? There is the question of ethics when it comes to criminals being deputized to apprehend criminals. Therein lies the failure of our police system. More strenuous psychological evaluations is the key. It's not enough to ask civilians to pass a physical aptitude test at the academy and an IQ test as a requirement to become a police officer. Policemen hold the most prestigious position in our community. How are they to de-escalate when they are in fact the proven inciters? How are we to instill hope in our police system to the son of Tyre Nichols when he grows up and views his father's murder? We've got to take initiative. The mentally unfit should not be police. And so the reason I wanted to share this is because, again, the issue is home with me. Because I had a friend some years back named Freddie Wesley from the Wilson County Police Department. He and I grew up together. And I knew from a personal experience that Freddie was bullied all of his childhood life. Now, I personally never bullied him, but I would witness it time and time again. And then I hit the streets and I became this drug dealer. And I served some time. When I was released a few years later, Freddie was a police officer. And I remember the day when he reported to a call of domestic abuse, a domestic issue. And when the police car rolled up and he got out, and I saw him in his badge and his gun, his decorated privilege, and I'm thinking, oh man, there's got to be trouble. Even how he handled this particular situation with his chest out and his head high, he looked nothing like the Freddie that I remembered. Well, long story short, I eventually found myself on my way to death row. And a few years after that, I got news of something terribly, terribly tragic. Freddie, in a dispute with his girlfriend, not only killed her in cold blood, but his 2-year-old son, who was his namesake. And then Freddie turned the gun on himself. I can only question how his troubling past must have played an issue in his position as a police officer. And so it's for this reason why I personally know that people who are unfit should be nowhere near a gun. So thank you guys for listening to me, and I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.